Unique boss fights for D&D. The Spore Lord. While investigating a missing mining crew, you find a shaft that has stumbled upon ancient ruins. Exploring the ruins, you find various types of mushrooms are infested. The red mushrooms explode on touch, burning you and sending you flying. The purple mushrooms release a plume of gas that distorts your vision and confuses you. The green mushrooms release spores that put everyone nearby to sleep. The worst are the black mushrooms, which grow from the remains of the dead, reanimating them into mushroom zombies. In the heart of the ruins, you find a treasure room infested with the various mushrooms with a giant mushroom in the middle. As you enter, the mushroom begins to move, introducing himself as the Spore Lord. He thanks you for coming, as his mushrooms were beginning to get hungry. As you fight, you must watch your step or suffer the effects of the various mushrooms, and beware of his zombie bear, which his shrooms took control of after wandering in. Unique boss fights for D&D. The Elemental Shaman. The weather across the realm has gone haywire after a shaman discovered an ancient artifact that allows the user to control the elements. As your party climbs the mountains where he resides, you face many elementals that affect the area around them. Once you reach the top of the plateau, you see the shaman performing a ritual with the artifact. Your party rushes in to fight him, finding yourselves between 4 massive totems. As the fight commences, the totems randomly cause an elemental effect at the start of every turn. The totems spew fire one turn, igniting the ground and burning anyone who isn't quick enough. The following round, a whirlwind occurs around a totem, blowing players around in random directions. The next, a totem sprays a watery mist, healing and buffing the shaman. And finally, a totem begins to shake the earth, knocking players to the ground. Can the players stop him, or will the elements forever be controlled by the shaman? D&D boss fights. Keon the Kindler. You return from a quest, excited for a drink and a good night's sleep, only to find what was once the great gates to the town have been reduced to a pile of ashes. You enter the smoldering town and are attacked by a skeleton with a glowing red rune on its head. You easily defeat it, but are burnt as the rune explodes with the final blow. You find a survivor, learning that a necromancer named Keon the Kindler has taken control of the town. You rush to put out fires and defeat the skeletons, tracking Keon to the Lord's castle. Inside, you fight several cultists, but upon defeating them, they burst into flames, transforming into living shadows. You fight your way through the Lord's castle, finding the townsfolk locked in a dungeon, each branded with a familiar glowing rune. Realizing that defeating Keon is the only way to save the townsfolk, you find him and several of his undead minions in the Great Hall. You fight the undead, avoiding their explosion, and take out Keon the Kindler. But as you plunge your sword into him, he erupts into a spine-chilling laughter before being engulfed in a pillar of flames, turning himself into a massive shadow that sucks the strength from everyone it touches. Can you defeat Keon the Kindler and save your beloved town? Unique boss fights for D&D. The Pirate King. The early morning sun is blocked by a thick layer of fog, and the drizzle has picked up to a steady rain. In the distance, you notice a shadow approaching. You notice too late that the shadow is none other than the Pirate King's ship. As you begin to call out, you are interrupted by a voice shouting, "Fire!" and a barrage of cannons as your ship begins to shake, sending you to deck. Roll initiative. The Pirate King is accompanied by his crew, who charge the party with their cutlasses and flintlocks. The Pirate King himself is a force to be reckoned with, not only fighting, but using legendary actions to raise morale in his crew, giving them bonuses. Every round, the ship fires its cannons, forcing your party to make saving throws or slide across the deck, potentially into the water below. There is also a time limit, as your ship can only take so much damage before being plunged into the dark depths. Can your crew take down the Pirate King, or will you be walking the plank? Unique boss fights. The Guardian of Fairy Forest. Deep in the fairy forest, a legendary spring is said to exist in a meadow untainted by man that cures all diseases. Long has man searched the forest, but all have found themselves back where they started, confused and unable to recall anything from within the woods. Your party explores the woods, finding yourselves wandering for hours. Eventually, you arrive in a beautiful meadow with a field of flowers and a spring of clear water. In the center of the spring, a stone emerges with a hammer covered in vines and flowers. Little pixies laugh playfully as they peek from behind flowers at you before you hear a beautiful voice in your mind. Why are you here? Only those pure of heart may enter and drink from the springs. Leave now, and all we will take are your memories. A large unicorn emerges from behind a tree in the center of the meadow. I am the guardian of the forest. You are not welcome. Leave at once. The guardian of the forest utilizes powerful fey magic to confuse and charm foes into leaving peacefully, but isn't afraid to use lethal force to protect the meadow from the corruption of man. Unique D&D boss fights. Lava, rock dragon, turtle. After days at sea, you spot a small island on the horizon and decide to explore it. The island seems barren, but you discover a large cave completely sealed by a massive lava rock. Atop the rock, you notice a glowing sword embedded in the stone. Driven by curiosity, you climb up and try to pull the sword free. With a mighty effort, you manage to loosen it, but suddenly, a deep, resonant cry echoes through the cave, and the ground beneath you begins to shake violently. To your horror, the massive lava rock begins to move, revealing itself as the shell of a colossal dragon turtle, its back covered in hardened lava. As you scramble to put distance between yourselves and the beast, it hurls searing balls of magma at your party, scorching you with intense heat. Expecting another magma attack, you brace yourselves as the dragon turtle inhales deeply, but instead it unleashes a powerful spray of water. Those unfortunate enough to be coated in magma are now trapped in rapidly hardening lava rock. Will you retreat to your ship, or will you stand your ground, defeat the fearsome creature, and claim the treasure hidden within the cave? Unique boss fights for D&D. The smallest giant. Gimbal the Gorky is a gnomish inventor who was ridiculed for years. Despite being quite brilliant, he is small, even for a gnome. Gorky and awkward, he was never taken seriously, and as a result left the Inventors Guild a laughing stock. Years later, rumors of a strange metallic tower spread through the realm. After a lightning storm, strange automaton creatures began appearing, stealing valuables and fleeing to the forest and wreaking havoc. Your party tracks the automatons to the strange metallic tower, making your way to the top and find the outcast Gimbal the Gorky in his workshop. As you corner him, you can't help but laugh at how pathetic he is, as he's shorter than the rumors said and trips, knocking over his table. His face changes to one of anger as he activates a machine that shrinks your entire party to the size of ants. You look up at him as he appears as a stumbling giant before you. His table's contents of spilled items now form a battlefield of dangers, with a spilled cup of water rushing towards you like a tidal wave. Can you navigate the dangers of the totally average messy workshop, but with the perspective of an ant, and overcome this clumsy giant gnome? Unique D&D boss fights. Corpse Cooler. After a monster storm caused landslides in the mountains, dozens of people went missing. A few brave villagers searched the remains for the missing, but only one returned. He claimed that he followed cries for help deeper into the forest, only to find his friend hanging from trees by an invisible thread before being devoured by an unseen creature. Since then, familiar voices calling for help can be heard from the forest. Your party has been hired to eliminate the monster and free the villagers from being tormented by the voices of their lost loved ones. You wander into the woods, hearing a cry for help. You approach slowly and see the silhouette of a man in the distance. As you approach, one of your party members gets stuck to an invisible thread, almost spider web-like, but much stronger. The cries for help get louder as a massive winged creature with several legs leaps down, mimicking the cries of its prey as it approaches your party for its next meal. Unique D&D boss fights. Soulmates. Lord Barrel was not just the leader of his country, but the heart and soul. Under his leadership, the city of Valtoria came together in the war, winning against insurmountable odds. When Lord Barrel was infected with mysterious disease, he was bedridden for weeks as the morale of his people slowly died out. A woman named Mira appeared, promising to save Lord Barrel. Several healers had tried before her, and all had failed, but Mira was different. behind closed doors, she performed a dark ritual, pulling Barrel's soul from his body and melding it with hers. Lord Barrel made a miraculous recovery and immediately took Mara as his wife. But those around him noticed something had changed. Once a level-headed, caring man, Lord Barrel had grown cold and cruel, raising his armies up once again, this time to go on the offensive. Thousands died needlessly, and your party was hired to eliminate Lord Barrel, ending the war. You catch him in his throne room, accompanied by his wife Mira, and while he fought valiantly, he eventually falls by your hand. However, the dark binding of souls connecting Mira and Barrel pull his body up and control him like a puppet. For as long as one lives, the other shall stand. Can you defeat Lord Barrel and Lady Mira and discover how to overcome their evil soul binding? Unique boss fights for D&D. Jonah the Broken. Jonah is the only son of the leader of a holy order called the Knights of Torm, a paladin order who has sworn an oath to protect those who can't protect themselves. Those who join the order are promised a special place in heaven after they pass. Jonah's father was beloved amongst the city, so his death was truly a tragedy felt by all. Following the rumors of bandits on the highway, Jonah's father was ambushed and overwhelmed. After his funeral, Jonah swore into the organization with a heart intent on revenge, while the youngest member of the Knights of Torm, his name held strength as he assembled a crew to take out the bandits. They found the hideout and charged in, but were also overwhelmed by the bandits, who they unfortunately learned was a pack of lycanthropes. Jonah and his men all fell in battle, but somehow Jonah was revived. When he awoke, he was heartbroken, for he saw what followed death, and it was not the promised heaven the Knights of Torm preach about. He felt betrayed by the lies spread by the Knights of Torm, breaking his oath with them. With his new lycanthrope curse, he vowed to bring down the Knights of Torm for spreading lies that led to his father's death. He picks off the paladins from the shadows, as well as anyone else who gets in his way. Will your party be the ones to put an end to his terror?